Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Williams on sax. I got to tell you, it's great to see all of you out here on this laid-back kind of nothing going on in BG kind of weekend, huh? Said the guy who lives across Brim Road from the National Tractor Pull. But there is much going on, and we are so glad that you all are here today as we celebrate our community, we celebrate its history, but we also look forward. And Mike Williams on sax got us all started today, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you about Mike if you don't know. If you have never been out to the Stro, first of all, why not? Come on out. We play pretty good basketball out there. If you come out to the Stro, whether it's the women playing or the guys playing, and there's some big mouth on the microphone saying, BG three-pointer, that's me. And I also get to tell everybody to stand up for the national anthem. And oftentimes, the national anthem is performed by a young, talented person from right here in Bowling Green. They do a great job. And so on this one particular time years ago, my script said, please welcome on saxophone for our national anthem, Mike Williams. I said, national anthem on saxophone. This could be interesting. Let's see how this goes. Mike came out, ladies and gentlemen, and by the time he was done, the audience, it sounded like we had just made the Final Four. Mike Williams on sax came to us from the 513 down Cincinnati way earlier in this century. Graduated Bowling Green State University, so he's a Falcon, and he's put his roots down right here in Northwest Ohio. So, Mike, we are glad to have you here. And I also want to thank Dick and Nadine Edwards right down front for sponsoring Mike and his visit here today. Thank you so very much. Why am I not surprised? Dick and Nadine are just a part of the fabric of this community. They are they bleed the Bowling Green. Former mayor of BG, who of course administrated the county over here, was in high position of administration at the university. And let's not overlook the fact he plays some saxophone himself. So why not? Dick, would you? No, I won't do that to him. Don't ruin it, Dick said. So thank you for your sponsorship. So we're going to start with our community-wide celebration, the formal dedication of the donor plaques and also the historic markers, beginning first with the BG Chamber of Commerce's ribbon-cutting ceremony featuring the mayor, Mike Osbacher. But you know what? Since we have him here, let's begin with Mike Williams playing his famous rendition of our national anthem. I heard it at BG. Now he plays it. He plays it for the Cleveland Guardians. Would you all please rise and listen to our national anthem? You can sing along, it says here, if you want. Just don't override Mike. Okay, I want to hear him. Our national anthem. Was I right or what? Thank you, Michael, very, very much. Just terrific. All right, let's get to it. And thank you all for coming out today. Thank you all for going with the flow. Thanks for everybody for bringing an extra chair so everybody had a seat. We should have thought about having this outside. We did. But you know what? Thanks for going with the flow because this is a special day. Let's get it going, if you will, please. So I want to introduce first the Executive Director of the BG Chamber of Commerce, Mary Hinkleman, who's going to conduct the ribbon-cutting ceremony along with our Mayor, Bowling Green Mayor Mike Osbacher. Here they are, Mary and Mike right here.
Thank you so much, Jerry. You're a hard act to follow every single time. Such a hard act to follow. And yes, wouldn't this have been wonderful to be out on our Wooster Green, which was put in place for gatherings like this. It's so great that Bowling Green does that. I have to go back to just yesterday, and we had this wonderful ribbon cutting, and here's 120 people out at the Curry Lounge out here at the brand new restaurant. Amazing. 120 people out there. Then we go out to BGSU yesterday afternoon for another gathering. 200 people out there. We are a community that loves to gather. So appreciative of the wonderful space we have. So, a ribbon cutting. It is a symbolic way for us to announce the completion of a project and the hard work that was done to reach the end. We have two, not one, but two projects because we're Bowling Green and we don't do anything simply. The time, efforts, and the financial support that have been put forth into both of these projects, the Wooster Green and the historic markers in the downtown, are going to be wonderful, not just for our residents, but also for those visitors that come to our community. Just another reason they fall in love with Bowling Green and probably choose to come back and live here. I thank everyone involved. At this time, I'd like to introduce our mayor, Mike Osbacher, who has a wonderful proclamation before we proceed into the ribbon cutting. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Jerry. And thank you, Mike Williams. Terrific. What a talented young man. I'm going to start naming names as a means of thanking people, and I'm going to apologize in advance because whenever I do this, I always inadvertently exclude somebody. So if I do so, I am sincerely sorry. But as Mary mentioned, we're here to celebrate two pretty significant community achievements, the Wooster Green and then the most recent placement of the historical signs located at strategic locations around the city. In terms of the Wooster Green, there are a lot of people that were involved in that it's necessary for us to acknowledge their efforts, beginning with all of those that served on the committee, certainly all of the donors. Very generous donations from across the community made that possible. All of those involved in the construction, city employees, our public works was involved in that to a great deal, and I'm very grateful for the hard work of all of those involved in that, and I feel as though it is a tremendous asset to our community, tremendous asset to our Bowling Green, and I'm looking forward to working with everyone in the community moving forward to determine what we can do to continue to encourage people to use that space. I mean, there is capacity for people to continue to use that in additional ways, and we want to be creative, and we want to encourage everyone to utilize that space. In terms of the historical markers, I think they're great. I've been going around on my bicycle and stopping and reading them, and I just am so impressed with the final product. And I do know that there is a great deal of work that went on in advance of those signs being where they're at today. And again, a good number of people that were involved in that, really led by our Historic Preservation Commission, John Sampin and that entire group. Thank you so much for your effort. I'm so impressed. I mean, there was such a great deal of detail went into researching all of those locations and the historical relevance and the historical facts and the proofreading and everything that went into that to assure accuracy. You know, hats off, because good Lord, I could not have done that. And I looked at it and I didn't catch anything, but it's really great that there are people that spent a lot of time creating that. So thank you so much. And again, our Public Works folks, I need to acknowledge your efforts. They worked really hard, Mick and everybody involved in that. They were involved in analyzing the locations, choosing the locations strategically, and actually performing some of the work. And those that are responsible for manufacturing the plaques, they're beautiful, just beautiful, and I'm really thankful for their artistic contributions. So both of those things are great things, and you didn't come to hear me talk, so I'm going to stop. I do have a proclamation from the office of the mayor that I'm going to take a couple of minutes and read all of the whereases, because it's important that we, I think, memorialize this event. So if you'll indulge me for a couple of minutes, I would like to read this proclamation from the office of the mayor. Whereas today's dedication and community-wide celebration marks the formal completion of the campaign to raise funds for the preservation and development of this historic school site as the Wooster Green. And whereas today's dedication and community-wide celebration also marks the installation of 3 interpretive signs on this historic site, as well as the placement of historic markers at other significant sites in downtown Bowling Green. And whereas the foregoing actions on behalf of the citizens of Bowling Green would not have been possible without the full measure of support of the City of Bowling Green and by its mayors and members of the City Council, current and former. And whereas this historic city-owned site was formally dedicated by the BG City Council on October 3rd, 2016 as, quote, open space to be accessible to all citizens, end quote, in keeping with the basic concepts submitted by the Green Space Task Force and refined and implemented by the Wooster Green Steering Committee beginning in 2017. And whereas the historic signage project that we celebrate today is the result of the dedicated and determined efforts of the BG Historic Preservation Commission in securing grant funding from the U.S. National Park Service and the State of Ohio Historic Preservation Office. And whereas Wooster Green, since its inception, has already been effectively and strategically used as a gathering place with promise and potential for even greater public use in its future. Now, therefore, I, Mike Osbacher, Mayor of the City of Bowling Green, do hereby proclaim Friday, August 16th, 2024, as Bowling Green Historic First Day. Thank you all very much.
We could have our steering committee come up, please. Help us with
All the
that.
members of the steering committee and the Historic Preservation Commission as well.
Steering Committee, Historic Preservation Committee, please.
Yeah, you don't. You do it. You do it.
Oh, no.
You do it. We'll just make sure you pull it.
Okay, I'm gonna count down. Everybody's gotta help me. It's gonna be loud. Are we ready?
Yep.
We're gonna go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Good job. New city.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mary in the BG Chamber. Thank you, Mayor Osbacher. Thank you so very, very much. Mike is one of those guys. Now, I'm retired and loving it. Some of you still have to work, and I'm so sorry. But Mike is a guy who could take a phone call right now. Mr. Mayor, there's an emergency. Are you coming into the office today? And he could literally say, I'll be there in 12 seconds, 11, 10, 9, and he could be there. So thank you for being here today for that. You know, with the big scissors, because Mike he's an innovator. And he has found a way to not only use those for a variety of ribbon cuttings, which are always a sign of progress here in Bowling Green, but he has a hair cutting job on the side and counts among his clientele my dear friend Norm Gear for a year. It's right out. I can do that because Norm and I go way back. So thank you, Mary. Thank you, Chamber. Thank you, Mayor. Anytime we talk about that historic piece of real estate over there, we talk about the history. And on its site, as mentioned before, the historic markers will recall the history of churches in BG. The Boomtown area has a plaque. And of course, history of schools, because we look at that parcel as a school, right? Most of us. My mother graduated Bowling Green High School, 1945. In fact, let's do a poll. Did anybody in this room attend high school, Bowling Green High School, in that building? Anybody? There we go. Put your hands together for that. Anybody class of 45? Because I would like to hear stories on my mom. I think this is going to be a larger group. You went to junior high in that facility over there. Absolutely. A lot of history and a lot of stories there. And then time takes its toll, and we decide we need a new building. All right? And then we have this one up here, and the question is what to do with it. What to do with that space? What to do with the facility itself? Can it be saved? We must save it for history. It must go down. Well, as in any good community, throughout that entire process, we had total unanimity of thought. We all agreed at all times exactly what must be done, down to every I and T and every dollar. No. And aren't you glad we don't live in a community where that would be the case? We live in a community of bright people with ideas. But people who say, I have this idea, but I'll listen to yours. Hey, that's not bad. It's not as good as mine, but if we put them together, we can make it better. And it takes somebody to shelter that all the way through. And we had the perfect person with the perfect history and the perfect temperament. So it is my pleasure to introduce the chair of the Wooster Green Steering Committee, Bowling Green Mayor Emeritus Dick Edwards, right here. Dick Edwards.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you, one and all. Best laid plans? Well, you know something about weather in Northwest Ohio, don't you, Jerry? It's a little fickle at times.
It can be.
And we thought there was going to be thunder, lightning, and some really dark clouds, and guess what? But in any event, we're sitting in a dry spot. And we're not on wet benches and having to put up with the elements in that. But we had long hoped, as we all know, to be out there today at the Wooster Green for this special day of celebration. It's really a day of thanksgiving, if you will, a day that brings together the best hopes and dreams of many people who live in our wonderful community, or people who are deeply rooted in the history of Bowling Green. And Jerry, you've done a wonderful job of getting people to even get into the action here a little bit too, putting their hands up there about history. The story of the Wooster Green is another Bowling Green example of combining history with a vision backed by generosity, determination, and yes, indeed, Jerry, as you indicated, collaboration. Many of you will remember this historic school site and its Grove Street neighbor, the old Central High School School Administration Building. In 2012, in keeping with the city's visioning process, these two buildings, marked by years of neglect, were demolished by the city. I will never forget the stench, the smells of decay and water damage in those two buildings. Unbelievable. But today we are not only celebrating the creation of the Wooster Green, but in a real sense, the relocation and construction of the Wood County Senior Center across the street, as well as the relocation and construction of this building, the new municipal building on the old post office Senior Center site on North Main Street. And thank you, Mayor, and all of your associates for preserving the historic facade here and for all that you did to make this building possible. But it all began with a vision, and thanks in large measure to this letter. I'm going to hold this letter up. I want you all to see it. It's got to be preserved, Mayor, someplace here. I hope you can all see it. I've really have hung on to this letter, as you can probably tell. But it was dated January 16th, 2013. The Wooster Green was born on that particular day in many respects. Let's hear from its author, retired Bowling Green High School teacher and longstanding community volunteer, Diane Botsberger. Diane, would you please come forward and tell us a little bit about this letter?
Now I'm sorry I said I'd speak.
No, you're not. Come on.
Hello, everyone. That's right. Back in 2013, I wrote a letter to Dick Edwards, and I taught in Bowling Green schools for 40 years, 20 of which were in the old junior high. And so when it came down, I thought we should really do something special with this site because of its location, the fact that it would bridge the central part of the city with a green space. So that's when I contacted him, and in reference to creating a town square, I wrote, "Traditionally, America's small towns have defined their identity by these beautiful spaces surrounded by grass and benches where their citizens could come together. I am suggesting Bowling Green does the same." So here we are today. I believe this is a fitting tribute to all the students who attended Bowling Green Junior High School and then went on to graduate. Creating this town square has been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and thanks to the hard work of countless individuals, what began as an idea in a letter has materialized as a gathering place for us all. Thank you.
This is kind of interesting. The letterhead she put on, maybe you've spotted it here, because she spent her summers up in Chatham, Massachusetts, where you used to spend your summers, right? But you really also grew up in Northport, New York, on Long Island. And you don't sound like you're someone from Long Island either.
And those two places have beautiful gazebos.
Yes. No, you planted the seed, so. Well, thank you, Diane. Now may I introduce each member of the steering committee and ask each to stand and be recognized, beginning with our honorary co-chairs here, Dick Newlove and Nadine Edwards. Would you please stand? Mayor Mike Osbacher, when he was president of City Council at that time on the steering committee. Mayor? And let's hold our applause because there are a few other folks here, if you would, please. John Calderonello, you'll be hearing from John, and Bob Kellicod, please. Bob? Don't be bashful, Bob. Bob co-chaired the Publicity and Marketing Committee. Jeff Crawford and Sharon Hanna, you'll be hearing from Sharon here pretty soon. She's the chair of the fundraising. Jane Klotz, Anne-Marie Lancaster, who's co-chair with Publicity and Marketing, but Anne-Marie moved away from the community back to her hometown of Kenosha, Wisconsin, I believe, or in that general region of Wisconsin. Larry Nader, who was the eyes and ears for the steering committee, keeping a close watch, and now you're in a different location, Larry, so set up your cameras. Michael Penrod, who could not be with us today, he's in Cleveland for a meeting. Lloyd Triggs, who's in the high school meeting. Mr. Superintendent, I know you're here somewhere, but the teachers are meeting today, I believe, right, Ted? Thank you. And Diane Botsberger, of course, we just heard from. And Lori Young, the chair of the Public Art Sculpture Committee. And Lori, we've not heard from Lori, but She probably is up in northern Michigan at their summer home up there. But in any event, please join me in giving these folks who worked so hard for so long a real round of applause. And on behalf of the steering committee, may I offer a huge thank you to all the donors whose names are on the adjacent, not adjacent here, but over there at the Wooster Green, on the donor plaques over there, and to all members of the community who helped in one fashion or another to make the Wooster Green a reality. Most assuredly, the City of Bowling Green, the mayor and the administration, the staff, and the Department of Public Works. And I know, Rick, you're here somewhere. Standing out there, way out there, Rick, please. Okay, thank you, Rick. And also, I call him the worthy keeper of the green, Scott Tyson. Scott, would you please stand and be recognized, because you and your guys are doing a terrific job of maintaining the Wooster Green. Thank you. Also, the city's electric division, headed by John Stewart. I don't know if John is here, but and members of City Council, current and former. And I know there's some current members here and some former members. So would you please stand and be recognized, because you really, really, thank you, Bill. Bill, don't be bashful. You've never been bashful. Please stand. And any other members of council here? Well, thank you all very, very much. And Jerry, I'm going to turn this back to you, because you were doing such a marvelous job of keeping this thing rolling right along.
Dick Edwards, ladies and gentlemen, writer. Nicely done, sir. Thank you. So Dick, as chair of the steering committee, he steered the ship and got us to where we had the plan, we had the idea, but now you have to execute a plan. To take it from idea to reality takes resources. So it is my pleasure right now to introduce the person who directed and engineered the successful fundraising campaign for our beautiful Wooster Green. Ladies and gentlemen, Sharon Hannah, right here. Sharon.
For just a moment, consider that everything on the Wooster Green site was once cleared away. That big and empty space became a blank canvas for the members of the Wooster Green Steering Committee to envision and design a gathering place for our community, one we dreamed of making. Of course, we wanted amenities like trees and benches and sidewalks and bike racks and light poles. We wanted the site to be landscaped and with an irrigation system and a drinking fountain. We wanted a gateway to welcome visitors and a gazebo for gatherings and an art sculpture that we asked the community to help us choose from among 3 designs. And finally, we wanted donor recognition plaques to complete the site. The amenities had a cost, of course. How much would we need for such an ambitious plan? The total to make Wooster Green, as we imagined it, was $400,000. Determined and ready, we began a campaign to share our dream and to ask for support by making planned visits with our local Rotary and Kiwanis and exchange clubs, and to businesses, and with families and couples and individuals. 7 city organizations contributed and are listed on the Wooster Green Historic Marker. 4 Bowling Green High School graduating classes, 1950, 1960, 1964, and 1965, connected with their classmates and encouraged donations. The first plaque that was recently installed lists donors who helped us provide the amenities in that treasured and beautiful site, and all of them helped us reach our fundraising goal. The steering committee also wanted to include community in our purpose, so we launched the second phase of our campaign. We designed a personalized mail appeal that was sent to 861 households, asking for support for the greatest need, that is, to secure the means to preserve Wooster Green as a public gathering space. Again, the response was amazing. Every donor whose gift we received is named on the second plaque, regardless of the amount of the donation. Fundraising is never a solo activity. It takes so much collaborative commitment and energy to satisfy a purpose and achieve a goal. I wish to take this opportunity to express, on behalf of everyone who served on this remarkable project, our deepest gratitude for the generosity of donors. We take joy in knowing that Wooster Green is the gathering place that we dreamed of making. We take pleasure in believing that it will continue to be enjoyed by all who gather there. And to all of you who have gathered here today, thank you so much for joining us to celebrate the dedication of Wooster Green.
Thank you, Sharon. Hannah. Sharon, thank you so very much. Job well done. You know, in society generally, Bowling Green's no exception. There are skeptics, there are cynics. Many of them live these days on social media. Isn't that true? But I tell you what, you probably, back in the planning days, heard what are they going to do with that? A park? Who's going to go there? Just something else for us to keep up. And by the way, talk about keeping up, stunning. Well done, all of you guys. It's just amazing. Well, I'll tell you what, unless you just don't get out of your house, and some of those people on social media, I'm fairly concerned, don't get out of their houses. Unless you don't get out of your house, you know that space over there, that historic, wonderful, beautiful space is used with regularity. And so now, for a brief review of the Wooster Green, how it has been utilized to date, but also giving us a forward view into the future of this space as a gathering place. Let's hear from two members of the Wooster Green Steering Committee, John Calderonello and the always understated Bob Calicod, right here, right now. John and Bob.
Thank you, Jerry. Well, town squares are usually square. Ours may not be, but close enough. Town squares are traditionally places to meet, to buy and sell, to be entertained, to get information and ideas, and to just enjoy one another's company in a green space. Wooster Green is Bowling Green's town square, and it's all of this and more. Independent News' Jan McLaughlin said it best years ago when Wooster Green was just a hope and a dream. She wrote, "Wooster Green is not just another city park. It's a place for the community to come together to celebrate, to mourn, to learn, to appreciate music, to protest a wrong, to rally a right." And indeed, over the years, Wooster Green has ideally fulfilled this intended purpose. Let's look at a sampling of the sheer variety of events that have occurred during the short expanse of its existence. In the field of entertainment, the library playtime for youth, during which many local agencies, CRC, United Way, Help Me Grow, Wood County Hospital, participated. The Drummers Circle, which sets the dishware rattling in neighbor's house, Larry Neighbor's house. Firefly Nights, which provides many fun activities for families and their children. The Kiwanis Cornhole Competition Tournament, which saw dozens of competing teams, and also a variety of outdoor concerts. Mike Williams, for example. Celebrations. Braves celebration of Juneteenth, Rainbow Rally, the once-in-a-lifetime solar eclipse, a lunar eclipse, the Better BG Bash event, concerts celebrating older Americans, community action, the National Drug Take-Back, during which citizens could dispose of surplus medications, the protest for social justice, and rally for immigrant families. There are far more many events and activities that just don't fit in neat categories, such as the Canine Alliance, Back to the Wild, the Food Truck Thursdays, weekly yoga. The wonderful events that have occurred here on Wooster Green are a testament to the success of Bowling Green's original intent, to make this central, beautiful plot of green space a place where all citizens can meet. Thank you.
Just a couple of comments to add to what John has said. During the design process, we spent an awful lot of time talking about how is this space going to be used. Okay, now you've just heard about the groups that have used the site. Then the question is, how is it going to be used in the future? But there's two aspects of it. The one thing I have been looking at ever since the inception of this of the project is I'm a fairly active Presbyterian, so I'm a next door neighbor representative of the Presbyterian Church, and the things that have struck me as I have observed what's going on in the space is that how is it used? It's used with respect. You know, we were concerned about how this kind of space is going to be used, but it has been a wonderful thing to see how many people, how many groups have come onto that site, and you can just tell. We have virtually complete evidence that the site is respected by the people who are using there, and also it's. People enjoy being there. There's a lot of smiles and a lot of great activity going on there, and that's what it was all about. So I think we've achieved in terms of the design. Now, in terms of the future, a couple of things I wanted to bring up. First of all, in terms of the lifespan of Wooster Green relative to the community, it is very much in its infancy. And it will be a good thing if we can just see more of what already has been happening, bearing in mind that a lot of people still don't even know that Wooster Green is a space. It's just amazing in a small town how many people aren't aware of the opportunities that are there. So that's the one thing. Let's see a lot more of what has already occurred. And I think significant, it's already been brought up, is that now Wooster Green now stands in a corridor of new opportunities, new buildings, starting with the senior center, all the way over to this building, and the library is there. Restrooms are there now. So we have a lot of opportunity. I would say the corridor off of Main Street. And I know we have a lot of groups are going to have enough imagination to see here's how we can use this spot. So I think, overall, it's been a good experience, and we hope it will be continuing in that same regard.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Bob. Thank you so very much. So clearly our Wooster Green, meeting the best hopes and wishes that we had as a community, but also continuing to provide opportunities for even greater utilization in the future. Now, as you probably have noticed, if we had been there today, I would say, as you could probably notice, and I could point to them, but even if you've just driven by, you probably have seen, even if you haven't stopped to read, 3 distinctive historical markers in place over on the green. But there are many others in place around downtown. How many historical markers are there? Anybody? 16. That's correct. If you said 16, you're right. I have a cookie for you later. I do. Well, not so much me. But they are so cool. And they tell our stories to tell us about the Historic Marker Program. My pleasure to introduce the Chair of the Bowling Green Historic Preservation Commission, Dr. John Sampin, and the Director of Planning for the City of Bowling Green, Heather Saylor. Here's John and Heather.
Thank you, Jerry. Let's have a hand for Jerry Anderson, who's made this such a special event. Thank you. First of all, I wish to offer our HPC congratulations to the many people who shared in the creation and support of our beautiful Wooster Green. Space has already become a centerpiece for our community. As chair and representative of the Bowling Green Historic Preservation Commission, I'm happy to celebrate the installation of 16 historical interpretive signs which were installed on July 18th. Bowling Green has such a rich history, and it was our honor to help create and display these windows of the past, which add an extra historical dimension to the public's appreciation of our city. Our story began in 2021 when Bowling Green was recognized by the state of Ohio as a certified local government, making it eligible for grants from the U.S. Department of the Interior's National Park Service as administered by the State Historical Preservation Office. 2 years ago, in 2022, our city planning director, Heather Saylor, suggested that the HPC consider a matching grant opportunity for interpretive signs from the State Preservation Office. With support from the City of Bowling Green, Heather and the HPC then submitted an official application for a grant, and this was approved a year ago in July. Realizing the magnitude of the signage project, our HPC secretary, Jeff Howes, and I invited a few talented friends of the HPC to join us in a signage subcommittee. A company from Greater Louisville, the B Sign Company, was our clear favorite in helping with the design, creation, and eventual installation of the signs. We enthusiastically thank our partner institutions for their help. Wood County District Public Library, especially local historian Marnie Pratt. Is Marnie here? Marnie Pratt. Thank you, Marnie. The BGSU Center for Archival Collections, especially archivist Nick Pavlik. Nick, yes, over in the corner. And the Wood County Museum, especially marketing and events coordinator Marisa Kohlhoff and director Annette Wells. Are either of you here today? Yes, thank you. We relied on all of these people greatly, and they were so wonderful in coming through and helping us. We also want to thank the Public Works Department, especially Director Mick Murray. Mick, are you somewhere way back there? And his staff who helped install the concrete sign bases. I especially want to recognize the members of our signage subcommittee. Each member volunteered to choose a few signs for research and basic construction of a layout scheme, and each person, as already mentioned, had specific talents and contributions. So I want to ask them also to stand up. Dick Martin. Dick was a walking encyclopedia of historic information for the city, and we really, really, really appreciate that. Jan Knapp. Jan was our chief designer for the entire group of signs. She spent hours, as did Dick and all of us, in making this happen. Thank you, Jan. And Rose Drain, over here. Rose was our best proofreader, and we think we did a pretty good job. I'm sure we made some mistakes. You can tell us about it, but please forgive us for any dates that might be wrong. We spent a lot of time trying to get it get it correct. So I'm really proud of all these people, as well as Jeff Howes, who is on the committee and helped put it together. Finally, the project never would have come to fruition without the superhuman help and organization of Heather Saylor. I now invite Heather Saylor to conclude our remarks today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I love seeing a friendly crowd. I'm used to like contentious zoning meetings. I don't want any of those coming up soon, but I really appreciate seeing you all and you all being here. This is a phenomenal project that really a small group did a lot of research on, and we couldn't have did it without the partners that John had mentioned. So our signage focus was really on National Register buildings, and our districts are Boomtown, of course, and where we're at today, this building definitely, and so many others. And we really are excited to really share this special gift with the community. That's what we've been calling it. Really, it's a gift to the community. And it's going to live for many years, we hope, at least 2 decades. So we're excited that you're here and can celebrate these buildings. Really, at the same time, too, we wanted to highlight buildings that are no longer here. So some of you may remember those buildings that are no longer here, and some of you may not know that we used to have an armory. We used to have a YMCA. We used to have the Ross Hotel. Many buildings are recognized on these signs that we wanted to share with the community. They were community places, right, that people gathered. They were places for education. They were places for worship. They were actual homes and places that people conducted business. So we really wanted to recognize those buildings, and that many of you obviously still shared memories with, of the schools, too, that we've already discussed earlier. So after we came up with these many sign topics, tried to boil it down to a sign, which is really difficult, we met with the mayor, we met with the municipal administrator, we met with county officials, making sure we got the sign right and put it in the right spots. So we appreciate if anybody's here from the Wood County Commissioners. I think I saw Doris earlier. Thank you, Doris, for your help. And Craig, thank you for being here and helping with us with that sign. And it was a very long process of research and reaching out to our partners and finding pictures. You wouldn't believe it's really hard to find an oil derrick picture and have it be in Bowling Green. And we weren't successful with that. We actually used one, thanks to Nick for finding that is right outside the town, but just finding that really specific picture to show on the sign and the quality and then giving the proper credit was something that took a lot of time. I think Nick and Marty might have ran away when they saw our emails come in because there were a lot of emails. So again, we really want these signs to engage and inform our citizens and visitors. We're really hoping this draws people here. We've heard a lot of success stories for people who come from out of state to see these types of signs and learn about our communities. And really, it's a great story of creation, of inspiration, of civic commitment, administrative coordination, and institutional cooperation with all the different partners. And we really want to thank those of you who take care of these buildings. We know the amount of time, money, and love that go into these buildings. And really, Bowling Green wouldn't be what we are today, just so authentic, and just a special place to live, to do business, and again, bringing visitors here. These buildings are special. They don't build buildings like they do today. And we just really, really want to celebrate that here in our community. And we also want to recognize the descendants that actually, some of them are actually here today. So we have Larry Nader here. We had to do a last-minute edit thanks to Larry finding out that he was moving because one of our signs about Boomtown features their home, and we had to change that, kind of a last-minute edit. But we're glad we caught that edit, and we really appreciate all the love you've given to your home, and we hope the next owners, whoever that may be, will take such great care of that space because it's really, really special. And also we have Marcia Coover Bloxam here and her husband Walter. They are actually the descendants of George Gagum, who built the building at the southwest corner of the Four Corners. They traveled here from Louisville, Kentucky. And a really, really cool story. I know you're probably all getting tired. We've been standing here a while. But they have never been to Bowling Green until today. So it's very special that she's here with us. And Mr. Martin here has been their tour guide. She got to see her family's grave sites that, again, never been here before, and got to see the building that he built that's still standing from 1888. and it's featured on one of our signs there at the Four Corners. So I just think it's really special that they were able to travel here. And they found out about this project on accident. She actually had called the county, the Genealogical Society, and got somebody on the phone that she wanted to know if the building was still standing, right? If I'm remembering that right. And so this person answered the phone, actually said, oh, I know the city's working on this project and you should talk to Dick Martin. And this whole connection happened, and she wanted to come to the dedication and, you know, see the building, see the signs, and just really cool story, I think, that came out of it. But we had a lot of last minute edits, and worked out really well. But again, we're so happy you're here. We hope you're able to see all the signs. We actually have a map. I don't know if we have copies left, so you can see where all the signs are located and the topics, and it's also on our website, of course. And I know you're all excited for a Sue Shank cookie, so I will hand it back to Jerry.
Thank you. Heather Saylor, John Sampin. Thank you so very much. Now, Heather, contentious zoning hearings here. While living here, because where my station was, I had to commute and work in Toledo. Contentious there is part of the city motto. E pluribus contentious or something up there. Thank you for your involvement. Thank you, John, as well, for your presentation. So today, the path changed, but we were all here together and we made history. As we celebrated history, took a forward look at Wooster Green, and we did it all against the backdrop of today. In this great town where you can have rain 1 hour and sun coming through the next, where you can have the National Tractor Pulling Championships going on over there, students coming back in droves as a new semester approaches at Bowling Green State University, soccer doings. There is Firefly Nights tonight. Where? Wooster Green. It's just happening in Bowling Green. What a great town to be in, and all of you help make BG the great town it is. Please give yourselves a hand for being here today. And Heather gave it away. Here we go. As I thank you all for attending and supporting this historic event, the formal dedication of the Wooster Green and the historic markers. If you haven't seen them, please get out. They are wonderful. They're good reading. The pictures are great. But before you leave us today, please enjoy a super delicious Sue Shank cookie provided by the campaign's honorary co-chair, Dick Newlove. Brother Newlove, thank you so very much. Thank you for being here. Let's eat. Thank you.